it all started. I attribute everything to like strong mothers.
Okay.
Because, my mom, she's so strong. She's like one of my mentors because, she's been doing business way longer than I ever have. So that's kind of how I got into learning so much so early because she kind of got me into things early,
Like what?
like in seventh grade, I finally saved up my first $250, so it took me like years to save up $250. So I wanted to buy like Jordan's outfits, things like that. And she's saying, she had a store in a, beauty supply. She's like, oh, like instead of spend that money on Jordan's and clothes, you could maybe buy a Coke machine. I said, Coke machine? She's like, yeah, a Coke machine. I was like, now I'd rather have like Jordans, because these Adidas aren't cutting it, And then she's like, no, just take a look. So she like showed like we went in the green sheet, just like this magazine with like different things people sell, like a Craigslist, but on paper. And going through it, and we see these like Coke machines, and then we see one that's like around the price, like $275 or something like that. So she's like, are you interested? And I was like, I mean, sure. Cause she's like, yeah, you can have, drinks for all the customers when they come in, things like that. So we went out to this place, this person who was selling it. And then, like with my first 250, I purchased that Coke machine, and we had it delivered, the whole process, everything all the way, from when I purchased it to like getting it filled up with the right clothes, cleaning it up, doing all these different type of things, like was my task. And she would like, through time, she would tell me like, if you buy Cokes from rather than Kroger, go to Tum Thum, they're doing a sale, you could get better pricing. So now I'm going from making $75 a week, doing like selling Cokes to like $100 a week, So I'm like learning margin. I'm like learning these things seventh grade, that my mom's teaching me. And I didn't even know I'm learning something. I'm just basically doing what the next task was, you know what I mean? And then like eventually she's like, do you think that people would maybe like, like snacks with, their food? I mean, with their drinks, I'm like, oh yeah, that actually could be something. So then the money that I've been saving from, like the Coke machine, I end up buying these little candy machines, So she's like, yeah. So I'm filling up the candy machines. Now it's kind of like a small little like business almost, and I'm managing this to so much so that like sometimes I'll forget and I won't change out the quarters soon enough. It'll overflow, and then my mom's calling, you need to maintain this, you need to make sure that you're on it. So I'm learning like responsibility for something that's other than like a video game or something other than myself. So I learned this really early, so that led, I was doing that all the way up until like till the end of college, really. But I've always had that Coke machine, the candy machines, cut hair, there's never a time that I ever had to be like self-reliant from that moment, from that time. So I feel like that seventh grade experience when my mom introduced me into like business without me actually knowing it is what kind of like brought to my kind of acumen now of what I know and what I apply to like business now.
Yeah. So, it's funny that you said it because